In today's episode, Xiaoli asks, if something is done by AI, can a company still claim that the output belongs to them? So this is a question of practicality. Legally, and fair warning, I'm not a lawyer. My friend Ruth Carter, who runs geeklawfirm.com, is a lawyer that specializes in AI. Legally, according to the U.S. Copyright Office, content created by machine is ineligible for copyright. It may not be copyrighted because a human did not make it. Now, from a practical perspective, could you demonstrate, in a court of law, that a company used a machine to generate content? It depends. It depends on the tools available and what model was used to make it. For example, if a company had someone, say a junior person, just copy and paste something straight out of ChatGPT, yeah, a good number of detection tools exist that you could refute a claim that a company is saying that this content is theirs by saying, nope, that's pretty clearly machine generated. If, on the other hand, though, the content was originated by AI, but a human being wrote it, it'd be very hard for that tool to pick that up, even though it was created by artificial intelligence. So it depends on how AI is involved in the creation process. It also depends on the model being used. Again, if you're using the stock off-the-shelf ChatGPT instance, it uses GPT 3.5 or GPT 4.0, there are predictable statistical distributions in the way it writes that make it easy to detect. Right? It's just a function of how the model is trained and how it works. If you use a different model, say you use Stable LM or Llama or Alpaca or Vicuna or any of the open source models, a lot of the tools that have been built to detect the use of AI will not work nearly as well on those models. And again, these are just the off-the-shelf vanilla models that you get when you download these pieces of software. If a company is using a fine-tuned model that's customized for them, detecting that is going to be almost impossible. If the model was trained well, detecting is going to be almost impossible because a fine-tuned model writes so much like the source material because it's been told to bias itself and its output based on the source material. So if your company has a brand style guide and a couple hundred blog posts that are of a consistent voice, when that gets turned into a fine-tuning regimen for a large language model, the model's going to adapt and sound a lot like you. And as a result, a company might be able to claim, well, yeah, we wrote this, whether they did or not, whether they used machines or not, they could make that claim. And because the existing tools to disprove that claim would fail, it would be very challenging for someone other than a company insider to say, no, a machine made that, not a human. And then there's, again, the practicality side of it. If a company uses a tool like ChatGPT to put up, say, a blog post or an ebook or something, and they claim that the output is theirs even though it's machine made, A, who is going to go through the expense of taking them to court to prove that? And B, what's the value in doing that? What is the value to a competitor maybe in doing that? Chances are a lot of the time it's just not going to be worth it. Right? The only cases I can think of where you would want to really throw down is if you had an axe to grind with that company, or if it was part of a much bigger set of issues that you were taking them to court for anyway. That's the trick with anything legal. In order for there to be enforcement, in order for something to have legal standing, you got to go to court, and that costs a lot of money. Lawyers are not cheap, understandably so. And is it worth it? Is it worth it to take a company to court because you think their most recent set of blog posts were AI generated? Probably not. It's probably not worth the time and effort unless you have an axe to grind and you want to drag them through court just to cost them a whole bunch of money. In that case, it might be worth it. I don't know. So to answer the question, yes, a company can claim something. Whether it's true or not is debatable, but proving that could be very expensive. So I suspect in a lot of cases, especially for low risk stuff like marketing content, people probably aren't going to bother. And we we would all settle for marketing content that doesn't suck. But that's the answer. Thanks for the question, and talk to you soon. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.